noches. Vamos a tener ahora el coloquio con la gran Chloé Zhao.
Hello.
Y con la productora Pippa Harris. No. Bueno, vamos a tener, there will be, this Q&A will last 30 minutes and then we'll have 10 minutes for questions. Of course, if you want to raise your hand before time because you can help yourself, you will be welcome. So, how did you like the movie? Well, welcome to the Academy, the Spanish Film Academy. These ladies and gentlemen are your colleagues, and we are part of them also belong to the American Academy. We are in the middle of these award seasons. How are you doing? How are you feeling, Chloé? How are you feeling, Pippa?
I'm feeling great. I think Chloé may be more tired than me. She's been doing a lot of traveling.
I like I've learned that this part of the filmmaking, when I was younger, I used to see it as, okay, this is the extra part of filmmaking, but now I realize this is such big, important part of, it's like an integration. So every screening I go to, every person I talk to, helps integrate a little bit of that enormous experience I had making this film. So I actually really am grateful to have the opportunity to do it. You know, and also this experience is going to inform the next project for sure.
Well, we are very happy because Spain, it's a Chloé Zhao fan, the whole country.
Thank you for the box office here. I'm so happy.
Because your movie opened, it was the first movie at the box office 4 weeks ago. Still, it is the third one at the box office. It's making so far 5.4 million euros, and I don't know, how are you?
Very happy.
It's not about the money.
Did you expect it? Yeah, did you expect this when you were shooting, when you were making this piece of delicate art? You both. How did you? How did you expect it? Did you expect the success, the return?
It's hard to talk. It's hard to not be so excited because films like this, we don't know if it's hard. It's not an easy watch. You know, it demands a hard opening, and that's not always comfortable. And there's so much noise out there, and so to have the box office live that Hamnet has so far, I was, to be honest, quite surprised. Maybe Pippa isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I expected it to do well in England and in the United Kingdom because of the book and the Shakespeare and so on, but the rest of Europe has really embraced the film, and you know, it's done extraordinarily well right across Europe, actually, particularly in Spain, because you all have very good taste in Spain. But I love it. I think the film is quintessentially about community and about bringing people together and about how art can bring audiences together and the importance of that. And I think that connects with audiences. You know, I think people like going to a cinema to see a film like that rather than sitting on their own at home. So maybe that's something to do with why it's done well in the cinemas.
So let's go back to the beginning, and you offered, you chose Chloé Zhao to direct this, to direct and to write this movie. Tell us both, please, the process, the whys, the how, the texture, because what was the core, the theme that you wanted to elaborate, and how did you protect her or provide her with so many difficult settings?
Well, I work with a producer called Liza Marshall and also Sam Mendes and Steven Spielberg. They are just some new people we are helping along the way. And all of us felt that the very best person to direct the film was Chloé, because we were all fans of The Rider and then of Nomadland, and we wanted somebody who would bring a freshness and a vision to the material, not somebody that you might expect, like Sam Mendes. You know, we wanted a fresh take, a woman's take. It's really the story of Agnes, and Chloé was the first choice. And initially, you weren't so keen.
Why was that?
It wasn't. Actually, people think it's because I don't know. I'm not a huge Shakespeare scholar, and I'm not a mother. And actually, that's not the reason. Because I'm not a cowboy, and I didn't like Western. I wasn't a huge fan until after I made The Rider, like how I feel about Shakespeare, and it was actually because the character of a mother, if you see my earlier films, never existed. She's either dead or incapacitated, because because there's quite a deep wounding for me around mother, and by the way, it's okay to laugh about this because because it is because you don't know these things. You make these films, and then when you're in your 40s and you have some therapy, and then you look back at it, you're like, oh, okay, clearly got issues with the mother wound. And so and this story is a whole load of mother, and it's not just a personal mother. There's something about the kind of feminine consciousness in nature, in man as well, in mystery, and there's just a lot of it. There's so much in this. I didn't think I could handle it, but I also realized that just like Shakespeare's storyline in this film, I am lucky to have the tools and the opportunity to have some kind of alchemy through storytelling, and that's my chance to alchemize my own pain and my own trauma into something, and maybe heal from that process. And every screening I go to, every person I hug, every person I talk to, in some way heals a little bit that little girl inside. So it's been a gift for me.
And this is your fifth feature film, and this is your first period piece.
Well, I did go back in time, Eternals, but
yeah. Eternals, yes, but
like Mesopotamian Babylons.
Wait, by the way, what's your superpower?
Mine?
Yes.
If I want to have one?
Of course, you have one.
I would like to fly. Oh wait, what's your question?
What's your actual superpower?
Oh no, I can't fly. I think I have a good relationship with the paradox, with the I have the nervous system to be able to stand on the edge of the void. I don't know if you know what I mean, but like the chaos and the entropy, I can stand there, hold the tension. I think it's not. I got that not from a difficult childhood, but it does allow. I think a lot of artists can relate to that, but it does allow us to hold that tension. And this guy, he asked to be or not to be, because I like to believe he had gone through things in life that we can't imagine. Even if it's not just personal, but having gone through the plague, as an artist, two of them, and then to ask to say to be or not to be, that is the question. That is the biggest existential question one can ask.
So Pippa, Chloé just said that she has a great relationship with chaos, which is quite frightening for a producer. How did you know? I don't rehearse. I don't need a storyboard. So, could you tell us about your relationship, your director-producer relationship?
It was very good, and no, I think as a producer, your job is to try and protect the director's vision, and that's not always easy. It's not always straightforward, but the best films come out of a singular vision, I think, and sometimes I never told Chloe about, but sometimes there were times when the studio were nervous, where we filmed a lot away from London, so we filmed in the middle of nowhere, and that of course costs money because you have to overnight people. So there were a lot of questions about are you approaching the film in the right way? But it felt so important to the story and to Chloe and to the actors actually that we were in this wilderness. So the forest is really it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's a very special, sacred, old place, and that just felt, once we'd seen it, it was like, well, we're going to have to shoot here. So I actually quite like a little bit of chaos, because I think out of that comes great art. I think if things are too boxed in, then you end up with something not very special.
And what kind of director are you, Chloe? Because I listened to a wonderful podcast, I think, in the New York Times, and you said that you were half a general and half a priest. And I was like, what?
It was not without prompt. They mentioned general first. I think it's a Coppola quote. He mentioned that directing sometimes is like being a general. And then I said, there's two ways to lead. You can lead as a general. You also can be leading as a priest, right? That both are important in leadership. You can have both. It's not like I'm like, I am half general, just to clarify. But I feel that leadership is often, maybe it's out of fear. There's a lot of dominance. When you hear even the word director, yes, even that word feels an action. It feels there's like, you have to do something. There needs to be productivity. There needs to be some kind of hierarchy. But I think, I'm not saying total entropy at all. I shortlist. I'm also an editor. So there's an editor on set with me the whole time, and a writer. So it's not just I do.
And a producer.
And a producer.
And I produce, yeah. So I am not just total whatever, but within the strong container, then depth loves structure. It's only when the container is really strong can you go deep. But in Hamnet, I realized the interdependence aspect of leadership is really powerful. And it's scary when you're the director, to go, actually, my relationship with everyone in the cast and crew is an interdependent relationship. It is not that I have more say over you. It's scary, but when you surrender to that ecosystem, and when everything is moving as one, there are times I just don't even know how we're doing it, how we could get this. It feels something so much bigger is working us. It's because I wasn't alone. And Jessie would say the same thing. She was like, I was never alone in any of these things. I can feel everyone from the driver to a PA, to an operator. They are moving with her. And the job, I think, for our producers from the beginning, we have said, whatever it takes, you need to go back to the studio to buffer us. We have to create a way of working. And that might not look, yesterday I did a Q&A with Sam Mendes, and he told me, yeah, because we take time in the morning, sometimes an hour, even two, so that before the first shot, because we want the entire ecosystem, everyone, to get on the same vibration. We will play music that Jessie chooses on that day, and just on repeat. So then eventually people start to somatically sync together. And if it's a scene that Hamnet's death, everyone just got quiet an hour in. And then we start doing it, and Sam goes, yeah, I heard about, it came to us. Like, what's she doing? We're not shooting. And then but then I said, really? I didn't know that. He's like, oh yeah, I did. And I think the producers never told us. You guys never once came to say they're concerned. So that I'm sure.
I don't think we were concerned because we knew what you were doing, but it's, yeah. I think if you're paying for something, you're thinking, how many hours?
2 hours.
And then we're dancing, in the dance takes. They're like, are they setting up a take that we can't use just to dance together for an hour? What's going on there?
Well, you just defined yourself outside like a woman having fun. So, but on the other hand, you look so fragile, so spiritual, and it is. It's a shock knowing you because sometimes I feel that your movies have this air of sadness, and you are not sad at all. I mean, you're a bomb.
Well, not at this moment.
Ah.
But after this. No, actually, I'm going to a Chinese restaurant for Chinese New Year. I'm so excited. The having fun part is we look at every day when we come to work. We try to look at it as like a ceremony. If you think about in our cultures, you have your own way of having a ceremony, and there's usually an opening and an ending, and so that's how you know where the containers are. And not just for our actors, but our crew as well. When you come to work, there is a period. In old days, you would, before you go into the temple, you would take your shoes off, you would clean and you would sage. And it's a form of that. And then you enter the container and you do the work. And you'd be surprised when everyone is in sync, intentional, how quick the work done. Focus is no fool. They're never going to let me carry on a single day if I wasn't making the day or delivering things they're happy with. But it's just we were delivering in a lot short amount of time. But because the container is strong, and so they also know towards the end of the day, there's going to be time set for everyone to have fun and to shake it off so that our actors never have to stay in a method state. They can go back and be a person, and so is our crew.
Well, we were just listening to the final scene. It's the beautiful. It's miraculous. The globe scene. Could you tell us both about this? It's the amazing, the most beautiful ending in the 21st century in movies.
Oh my God.
Yes, it's amazing. It's impossible to. So tell us, how did you get to the idea, and how did you get to build the idea?
Well, the ending on screen is not the ending that was written in the script, and it's not. So that's the first thing to say. And from my point of view, obviously, as Chloe said, we had built this, literally built the Globe Theatre. So Shakespeare's original Globe was burnt down, so there is a Globe Theatre on the South Bank in London, but it's a replica, and actually the one that we built is closer to the original. It's and it was all made of ancient wood, some of it from France, some of it from the UK. It was a really beautiful structure, but it was Chloe who, I think, in the last week said, I'm not sure we've actually got the actual ending, even though the words are there. And then you should say, between Chloe and Jesse, how the end came to be as it is.
On the page, we wrote the ending. The feeling is there. You describe the oneness and the surrender that you might have experienced. But if any of you had read that script, you would go, oh, that's beautiful. How are you going to do it, though? Because it's not translated into action. I knew even at that point, what I'm asking is big, right? What I'm asking the audience to feel is big. And I don't have the ability to do something that big just from here, from the conscious mind, the thinking mind. It's got to come from somewhere else, right? And then it's got to have to happen more present, because this ending was filmed at the end of the production. So by then, we're talking about a month and a half of daily, this group of people moving as one. And that kind of thing, you can never replicate that in an air-conditioned room in LA, trying to write the screenplay. So the intention was there. And then 4 days before we finished production, we shot the last scene. There was no hand reaching. And Hamlet was now on the stage. And Hamlet, said, pain, and the rest is silence, and he dies. And then Agnes looks around, and I remember saying, cut. And Jesse just looked at me like, is this it? I was like, yeah, this is great. And we avoided each other all day because we both knew there was no catharsis. And for Jesse, I mean, both of us, I was just thinking, okay, no ending, no ending. But that happened to me on every single one of my films. And the ending always show itself. So I have some faith. But for Jessie, it was so scary because for her, she was like, as this character, I have gone through all of this. And I came to the globe. And I saw my husband and the play. And but I'm not feeling, like, what is this supposed to mean? And then in her agony that night, she stumbled in her playlist onto Max Richter's On the Nature of Daylight, the lyricized version called This Bitter Earth. If you haven't heard this version, please listen. The lyrics is, and that song triggered something inside of her that she realized that actually being lost and surrender to the loss is exactly where her character needs to be. And she felt that music helped her to surrender. And then she sent it to me on my way to work the next morning. And I was also at the end of a relationship at the time. So I was having trouble letting go. And I remember listening to the same song, totally falling apart in the car. And I found myself reaching for the rain outside the window, trying to touch the raindrops. And I realized that's because I'm trying to become a part of something bigger. Like I want to be one with the rain so that I can no longer afraid to lose love, because it's impossible. If you're one with everything, then you don't lose love, right? So I can let go. And when I saw that, I realized that what it needs is a moment of contact that can ignite a form of oneness. And the surrender of the entire theater is what the strength that Agnes needed to surrender. She couldn't do it alone. And that's what the theater is for.
Yes.
It's just so we can do this together. It was never meant to be alone. We were never meant to be able to surrender to something so impossible alone. It was always supposed to be in community.
Wow, it's strong. Well, but and Pippa, I'm listening to Chloé, and as a producer, it's like what is going on here every morning? Like.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing, and she came back and said, we need to do the end again, and I think by that point we all had so much trust because we could obviously see what she was creating and see how special everything was, and none of us had any qualms really. I don't think anybody had any. We just said, okay, we'll work that out. We'll carry on, and then it was just amazing, and it is amazing. I think it's. And the other thing that was extraordinary for me is that the supporting artists. Normally I've worked on many films with big, groups of supporting artists, and they are really invested in what they do. But I've never seen a group like the group in the theatre. They all worked with our dream coach Kim, and so they had all got into a headspace where they really understood what they were doing. And when you watch them watching the play, I find it extremely moving. Because you can see that they just really believe what they're watching. So that was, for me, was part of the power of it. It was Jesse and Paul and Jacoby, but also everyone around them who were extraordinary people.
We haven't I mean, we haven't said anything about Jesse and your relation, this magical relationship you had with her during the shooting, and so could you share a bit of this? I mean, this magical bubble of creation.
I mean, Jessie held me as much as I held her. You know, it was, and that was important, I think, for her to know that this is a equal relationship, and she is just, she revealed something about who Agnes is to us on a daily basis, and she made the commitment to come to work every day and not impose what she think is going to happen to this character or what she think is good performance. That's incredibly difficult for an actor to step into a scene in front of everyone and not knowing where she's going, and to let the scene take over her, like give up herself for something else to come through. So that scream.
So you didn't have, she didn't have a written script, the line, she didn't memorize?
She has the script, but you know, sometimes actors would think, okay, I'm gonna then do this in this moment, and then I'm gonna feel that way in that moment, because that's what their interpretation of the character. Yeah. And Jessie, and she knows that that's what I hope she would do as well, is to show up with the container of the script and the scene, the intention, but let go. As soon as she has an idea of how I think it should be, let go and let something take over. That is a really difficult thing to do. It's like if you try to meditate and be present and now have a thought come into your mind, it's really, really hard. And also, it's brave because you don't know what's coming, right? You can't protect yourself. And only when you make that kind of commitment can she have the moment of grief, of that scream in the Hamlet's death scene. Because we didn't plan that. She didn't plan that. It just came out of her. And when you see raw truth in the present moment like that, for someone like me, I'm just there to go like, I'm bottling that and I'm defending that. That's only my job, is that, right? And just quickly to say that I do believe actors are like modern day shamans. If we're talking about ceremonies, the shamans put their bodies through extreme conditions so their consciousness can shut down and they can channel, whether it's a jaguar, an eagle, or you know, a character, archetypal character, is usually what the medicine, the tribe needs, and they perform it back to the tribe. And our jobs is to create a safe ceremony and a safe temple for them to do the work. And it's really a big commitment, actors. You know, we tend to kind of go a little cynical about this craft, but it's a deep commitment. Yeah.
We are, it's I mean, you're a storyteller, it's amazing. We can open give mics to the audience. So, and if you ask in English, I appreciate it, because I'll do my best. Hombre, Malena.
Hi, Chloe. Thank you so much for being here, and it's an honor to have you here. Yeah, don't worry. I'm going to be quick. Thank you very much for this film. For me, as an immigrant, I have lost a lot of family that I haven't been able to be there, and I connected a lot with this sentiment of not being able to be there. And I know it's something that it's sometimes difficult to move on, and this film somehow made me connect with that, with this feeling of moving on. My question to you is, being this container for all this cast, for all this crew, how do you move on with the feeling that this movie has created?
Oh. Thank you. I'm an immigrant too, so I understand what you're saying. How do I move on? Well, dancing helps. You know, we do this huge dancing thing every Friday. But then also, you know, whenever you have a big experience in life, whether it's loss or deep love or joy, it needs integration. You know, and then creativity and imagination is the birthright to every human being, not just artists who went to school or people who have resources. Every single human being was born with the birthright to alchemize their life experiences through creativity and imagination. And I think that's what I try to do. I would write in a journal and study my dreams and whatever it takes to integrate it.
There's another one there.
First of all, congratulations. I hope you think of us here in Madrid when you're up there with that little golden statue. Because you never know. I was very fascinated from the point of view of writing, because what you did, a lot of the time, I think, in terms of script writing, is a little bit like archaeology. You know where you're digging, you see the odd bit of pottery and a collection of low walls, but you've got to try and work out what it's all about. My question is kind of a producer question as well. When you discovered the ending, because the ending comes, and it's a completely different context, it's a completely different place, and we could, as we've just heard the explanation, we could accuse it of being Deus Ex Spotify playlist. Did you consider perhaps putting some foreshadowing of what was going to happen at the end earlier in the story? Because it's a very different tonal, textural, and thematic thing. Because one thing is we have the poetry of nature and the conflict within nature, and we have the archetypes there. We have between the mother and the witch, as it were. And then we're constantly in the background. We have the shadow, the spectre of Shakespeare's verse, which occasionally makes itself visible, almost shamefully. It's sort of the pentameter. No. But it doesn't tumble into verse. It has to sneak out, or it crawls out drunkenly from some scrawled pages. So my question is, did you ever consider going back to the start? And what was the most extraordinary thing you found out about Shakespeare whilst you were making this?
Well, somebody write that down. That's so beautiful. The extraordinary thing about Shakespeare, I'll answer that first. I get in trouble every time I talk about Shakespeare. but if I'm honest, I feel like he's like a shaman. I really do. He's like a druid. I don't know how he tapped into the unseen and this other realm, or he somehow still was able to maintain some of the teachings and wisdoms from Western mystery schools that came all the way from the Greeks. And of course, you know, the Romans kind of took some of that away. Not some, like most of it. But we know it's in the blood, right? It's in the bones, it's in the blood, and it comes through. And I think he's one of those extraordinary mystics that is able to tap into a lineage, so create archetypal stories that Carl Jung studies in depth psychology, that we are still here, right? And I believe he's a mystic. I really do. That's what I learned. And when you write a line like, well, first of all, to be or not to be, that is a question. Asking about the great paradox of what it means to be human. And then all living things must die, passing through nature to eternity. The guy's onto something. Yeah. The first question.
Foreshadowing of the ending.
You mean to add more things to the beginning once I come up with the ending?
The implication of the reaching out of people.
Yeah.
Bridging the gap between bereavement and catharsis, as you say.
I don't overthink it, because I trust if I was there in my body, everybody is at the beginning. In the end, our subconscious and the collective unconscious is going to connect us. Because when I write a story, I never draw a straight line. I always draw a circle, and sometimes a spiral. so the ending usually is, if it's now right next to the beginning and you can see if that relationship makes sense or not, or if it's a spiral, it will end on a different plane as the beginning, but the same place. And that, if I work on the script that way, I'll trust the container. Then if something occurred in the end, I don't have to worry at the beginning. And the hand touching for Agnes to touch well, that moment of contact, that she sees his inner landscape. And that led to what we saw on the stage. And then in a way, that's that point of contact when he touched Hamlet. When she touched Hamlet, she was able to see the much bigger landscape of the human condition that he has created, which also means everyone's grief in the room, right? So I didn't plan that, but I think if I look at the stories as a circle, it will always bring me back home.
Yeah. I think we have the last question, just the last, but I don't see the mic. It's there.
Hi. Thank you so much for coming, both of you, and for making such a soulful and beautiful movie. I wanted to ask us again about a bit of like the writing process as well, because you both talked beautifully about the production. I was wondering a bit about the pre-production. You co-wrote the screenplay with Maggie O'Farrell, who wrote the book. I was wondering, because you talked a lot about the truth that Jesse Buckley brought to the character, if there was any other truths or insights that Maggie maybe gave to you when writing the screenplay that weren't explicitly shown on page, that fundamentally changed the way that you portrayed them on screen?
I know, this is really a storytelling culture, I can tell. Like really deep curiosity with the process. The archaeology reference is very important to me. I was in Pompeii recently, trying to rediscover these lost mystery school. I went to southern Italy for that. And the woman who worked there for over 20 years and told me, I asked her, what makes a good archaeologist? And she said a good archaeologist will come to a site, right, and have some idea of what might have happened here. But then every day when they come to work, when they start revealing something, they let go of what their vision, their story of what happened here, and allow the story to come through whatever they discover on the daily basis. But at the same time, also hold the bigger picture, right? But then she said, unfortunately, a lot of times, their own story of what might happen here trumps what actually comes through. And I think that delicate difference is what the writing process in pre-production is, because in pre-production, a lot of things happens because it's the first time it goes from me and Maggie on the page to everyone, to the HODs, to the actors. And that's also the springtime of everyone's exploration is the most fragile time to make sure, with their support, that everyone is feeling safe enough to let go what they think the story is and let something come through. And Maggie, during this entire time, was with us. And I remember there was a moment when I said to her, I feel like, actually this does answer the foreshadowing the ending a little bit, because I was like, I just feel like we need a scene with Agnes and Hamlet. This is in pre-production. And then we go, okay, let's just set a scene of the two of them in the garden after Will left. And they will talk about him leaving. We didn't really pinpoint exactly what it is. As we're filming, Maggie called me and she said, I said if she asked him, what would you want to be? What do you think Hamlet wants to be when he grow up? And she was like, he absolutely would want to be a sword fighter in his father's play, like a sword. And I think this is Maggie having lived with this story for over 20-some years, more than that. When she was in school, that the teacher one day told her he had a son named Hamlet, but who died a few years after, before he wrote Hamlet. And she goes, oh, look at the connection. Anybody? And no one, right? And for all this, her whole career, she looks around. Nobody bothered to even assume that might be a possibility. Hamlet is such a tiny little footnote in any study about Shakespeare. And it enrages her. It makes her so upset. And that we have to make our geniuses work come from somewhere up there, but not here, from a broken heart, because he was a man, a father. And so it's been in her for that long. And then when I asked her that, when she gave that answer, there's zero question for me, because I know this comes from somewhere deeper. And when we did that scene, Paul just happened to just done Gladiator. So he knows how to sword fight. And then we were like, why don't we improv a sword fighting scene? Like, you teach him how to sword fight. So then they start to sword fight. And then I was like, of course, in the end, there's a sword fighting scene. And then, of course, she did see him when she touched her hand. She wasn't wrong. She just saw Hamlet. And that all just, my brain just went, but it, Maggie, she knew. She really is the mother of this project that we all gathered around.
Well, thank you so much. What a ride.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.